Hey everybody, Merry Christmas! It's Jamie, the crafty DIY guy. Welcome to my channel. Now, I know you guys thought that I lost my mind wishing you a Merry Christmas, but I wanted to share some of my favorite Christmas DIYs with you from the past couple of years. Now, some of these DIY projects were like a walk down memory lane for me. A lot of these were really fun projects, and you can tell with some of them, it was in the very early years of the crafty DIY guy. These are literally some of my favorite pieces, and even some things that I'm still using to this day. You know, we make a lot of stuff as creators, and sometimes we give them away. Sometimes they end up at neighbors, but a lot of times, a lot of stuff just stays here with me, especially Christmas DIY. So I hope that you will enjoy some of these projects that I've got for you today. If you are one of my long-term subscribers, you know I call you guys my OG. That just means you're part of the original gang when we were back in 2009 creating these, and some of these projects you may even remember seeing. But if you're one of my newbies or one of my newer subscribers, then these will be brand new for some of you guys. If YouTube happened to recommend this video to you, then thank you, YouTube, and hopefully if you are brand new here, you will stick around and become a subscriber as well. All right, guys, let's get into those projects. All right, everyone, and for project number one, I'm going to be using some of these wooden letters that I picked up from Amazon. They're kind of like a pressed wood. It's kind of like a composite wood, kind of similar to what some of your Dollar Tree signs are made of. I actually picked these up on Amazon, and I have a link down below. Now, my whiteboard there is just a piece of scrap wood, and it actually just kind of works out perfectly for what I want to do today. So first thing I'm going to do is take my letters outside. I'm going to spray paint them this bright red. This is an apple red color. I think it's perfect for the holiday season. It's by Rust-Oleum, and it's one of my favorites. Then for my board, I did just go ahead and clean this up and give it a nice coat of white paint. I'm going to glue those letters down. I'm just using some all-purpose glue, and for this particular purpose, it's going to be fine. I added a little bit of greenery and a bow to the top. Then I took some brown beads and strung it, and this is what the sign looks like when it's all done on the front door. I absolutely love this so much and think that this is a great addition to the front porch. Now, my next holiday project is going to involve these old 4th of July corrugated metal signs. Now, they make a couple different versions of these. You can pick these up in Crafter Square that are blank. I'm using the 4th of July ones. I'm also using these 5-inch wood squares. These are from Crafter Square, and they are perfect for those same letters that I just used for the previous project. So what I'm going to do with this is actually make a very cool Christmas banner out of all of these. And I want to take the metal side, or the kind of plain side, if you will. And first thing we're going to do is take a bunch of these wood pieces, and we are going to be gluing these along with the letters to spell out the word Christmas. So first thing I need to do is take these letters outside, and we are going to spray paint them red. Yes, I realize the C is upside down when I'm spraying this because I'm a bonehead, but not to worry, because I will end up fixing that eventually. Now, for those wood squares, I did take those outside and spray painted those white because I'm wanting something very traditional, kind of red and white Christmassy here, but it's still going to have kind of a very cool farmhouse kind of a look. Now, all of these signs, I'm taking the strings and I'm cutting them in half, and I'm keeping them attached because what I'm going to do with those corrugated signs is we're actually going to first hot glue all of those squares to the corrugated metal. Now, I made this project last year. I will give you a huge tip if you want to make it this year. Use E6000 or use a glue that is more compatible with being outdoors if you do plan on putting this outdoors. I had this outdoors on the front porch for a while, and it didn't really work out too good. Now, this is my CG, or what should have been my C, and yeah, I end up fixing it after the fact, but just go with me, pretend it's a C. So now you're just going to glue all of your letters down right on top of your pieces of wood and that corrugated metal. And then, of course, if you have any glue blobs like that one there, you're going to get rid of that. And you are literally going to be spelling out the word Christmas with all of your letters. So after I put all of those in place, now remember those strings that you cut. Now you could simply use some ribbon like this if you wanted to. That would be adorable. But because I'm kind of keeping this a little rustic looking, I am going to just use those strings. So that part, totally up to you. I really liked the way that the twine kind of worked with the corrugated metal, and then I was able to kind of tie them up in little bows and keeping them, nice and farmhousey looking, if you will. And as I'm going through and doing this, I'm not pulling them completely tight. That way there is a little bit of sway, there's a little bit of movement as you're kind of going through and hanging this up. So now that you've got everything done and tied together, this is what it looks like on my mantle. And I love this. And I probably should have kept it inside, even if it does say Grimace. But I ended up taking this outside and putting it on the front porch. And this is really where I fell in love with it. And I figured out that I had to fix my C there. So, all right, our next project is going to use one of these triangle kind of shapes from Dollar Tree. It's not really the houses. Also, we're going to be using one of these votive holders and then some of those vase fillers. First thing I'm doing, taking this outside, spray painting it my bright apple red from Rust-Oleum. I think I should get a commission from Rust-Oleum because I really do use a lot of their products and I love a lot of their colors. For that candle holder, I'm going to spray paint that black, and I'm just using a flat matte black paint from, guess who? Rust-Oleum. Now that I've got everything dry, I'm taking it inside, and for the red part of this, I am adding a bunch of hot glue down there in the bottom of this, and I am literally covering the bottom of this. And now I'm going to take some of my vase filler, and I'm going to fill it in the bottom where I put that glue. And then I'm going to add more layers of glue, and then I'm going to add more vase filler, and I'm going to continue to kind of build that layer until I've got this little sucker completely filled like this. Then I'm going to take my candlestick holder, or my votive holder rather, add some hot glue to the bottom of this and just glue it to the bottom of my triangle. And now I've got a very decorative Christmas tree that I can use on the bar or really anywhere in the house. I love this and thought that this was really, really adorable. And for my next project, I'm going to take a Dollar Tree canvas. I'm also going to use one of these ornaments that I picked up from Dollar Tree. I am actually going to also use some wood shims because I'm going to make this look like this is on a wood pallet or a wood plank. And so the first thing you're going to notice with these shims is that there is a kind of a skinnier side and there's a fatter side. Now this doesn't work too well when you're trying to have something completely flat. So what I'm going to be doing is gluing these down in alternating patterns. That way it kind of gives me that look of like in a rough pallet wall or something like that. And I kind of like the fact that they are not perfectly flat across it. I think it adds a really cool kind of rustic touch to it. And by the way, how perfect are the sizing for this canvas that I picked up at Dollar Tree? Like this is the exact same amount of shims needed all the way down. Now that I know that everything is going to fit and everything is going to work, I am going to add a bunch of glue to my canvas. But before I even do that, I am going to actually stain this. Now I'm using my antiquing wax from Waverly, and I'm just doing this because I want to make sure that if some of those wood slats are not glued together properly, or maybe there's some spacing or something involved, that you're not going to see that bright white canvas in the background there. So go ahead, take some antiquing wax, make sure you've got everything nicely covered. And then once that is dried, Then you're going to go and you're going to add a bunch of glue, and you're going to literally glue your shims down in that alternating pattern that we kind of described in the first part here. So I'm going to, I think I end up doing 2 coats of this. I did this like last year. So I'm really trying to remember what was going on here and why I am just going back and forth with that, that poor antiquing wax. Okay, now I'm going to dry it. And now after that's dried, now we're adding some glue. This is hilarious. I'm recording brand new voiceover for you guys when we show these compilation videos, because I think it's, relevant for you to understand kind of what's going on and what the background looked like, and, why the camera angle was so funky, because, a couple years ago I wasn't so great at all of this. And anyway, adding lots and lots of hot glue kind of all the way down the shim there, and then gluing this right down on that canvas, making sure that everything is nice and flush and tight and kind of held together there. And then after I have that canvas completely covered with all of those shims, then I'm going to go through and I'm going to use my antiquing wax on these shims themselves as well, because we are going to want to make sure that this has that kind of rustic look that we're going for. And I think I remember now why I ended up adding some other shim pieces here, is because there were some spaces that were just a little too wide, and I could kind of add some other shims in there. So after I did that, then I went through with my Waverly antiquing wax, and I'm literally just kind of going back and forth and covering everything in that antiquing wax. I love working with antiquing wax. It's one of my favorites. I purposely don't put it on very, very thick all the time. I like to be able to wipe away that excess and give everything a really cool kind of distressed look. And again, I'm going for something here that looks like it's made out of pallet wood. So again, something that's super cool and very, very easy to do. If you don't have antiquing wax, you can use Old English furniture polish. You could literally also use brown paint that you've watered down. You could even use stain if you wanted to. Now for that ornament, I separated the reindeer from the ornamental kind of wreath shape, and I'm taking the reindeer and spray painting him black. And then for the horns, or I guess they're the antlers that are left here, I am spray painting these a metallic silver. And this is going to really, really pop against that beautiful grain there. Now, for the edges of the canvas, you can go ahead and just add in some black paint like I'm doing. I'm using ink by Waverly, and I'm just going through and touching up the sides of this canvas. And it really kind of helps add to that distressed kind of look and feel that we're going for. And it's also going to really tie in the black from the reindeer. So after I've done this and went around all 4 sides, again, I'm going to pull out the heat gun. I'm going to make sure that everything is nice and dried. And then you're going to have a very cool looking kind of old palette piece, kind of like this here. And I did go through with a little bit of the black paint and kind of distress the center part of that. Now with the ring itself, I'm going to go ahead and add glue onto the back of this. We're going to glue it down in the center of the palette, but there was a little bit of an area that was not perfectly flat, and so once you've kind of figured out where that placement is, then you're good to go. And you may need to add a little bit of extra glue here and there. And then for the reindeer head itself, I'm wanting this to kind of protrude out just a little bit more. And the reindeer surface, or that surface back, is actually kind of rounded, and it doesn't sit flush up against here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this little wood circle, and this was like a leftover wheel from something. I am going to glue it to the back of the reindeer's head, because that will then allow the bust form of the reindeer to be able to lay flat against your piece, kind of like this. And when it's all said and done, you've got a great piece of art that I think you could even use in like a man cave or something. You could sneak in some Christmas decor. And honestly, I think this is something that you could easily keep out all year long. You could put a little red reindeer nose on it. You could put a Christmas bow on it. It's a lot of different really cool things that you could do with this one. All right, everyone, and for the next project, I'm going to use this wood soldier that I picked up from Michael's. I'm also going to be using a placemat from Dollar Tree, and then also I'm going to be using one of these house forms that I picked up during the springtime. The placemat I thought was great because it kind of looks like Christmas trees, and I'm going to use this for the backing of my house. Now, I could go ahead and just trace this out and, if you do that, it's going to be a little bit bigger than the background, and that certainly is an option for you. Or you can push the back of these houses out, and it will actually come out really, really easily, kind of like you see here. Now, you'll have to kind of peel away some of the, that paper that kind of gets stuck there, but not a big deal. You can take a pair of scissors and kind of do what I did there. And then I'm using this Dollar Tree spray glue that I picked up, and I just literally spray glued that placemat right to the back of that piece of the house backing. So hopefully that's making sense. For the toy soldier, I took him outside and I just used antiquing wax, and I covered the little guy in antiquing wax, and then I took a cloth and just kind of wiped away the excess, and then I left it outside to dry. Now for this backing, that spray glue wasn't so great for the placemat. I've used it in other projects and it's been fine, but for this placemat it didn't really work too well, so I went ahead and just made sure that I used some of my hot glue. Now for the house shape itself, I'm going to paint that white. I'm just using a chalk paint here. I think this is Waverly's, just kind of white chalk paint. I'm sure it has a fancy name like cotton or something like that. But after I did that, I then took my heat gun and just made sure everything was nice and dried. And then I did go ahead and just distress it just a little bit because I wanted to bring in some of that kind of wood or that, rougher feel, if that makes any sense, because you've got that wood toy soldier there. And then after I'm kind of done playing around with it and distressing it, I think I almost distressed it too much. I may have even gone back in and repainted some of it, honestly. But after I kind of beat it up a little bit with my paintbrush, then I just took some of my hot glue. I wiped away some of it, as you can see here. And then I'm going to take my hot glue gun and just go right around the backing there. And I'm going to glue that now placemat covered backing back into place. That way we have a very cool and vibrant background for our toy soldier. Now, if you look at that placemat, what I think is really cool about that is it looks like it is red. If you're focusing on the red, it looks like the trees are upside down. If you're focusing on the white, it looks like white Christmas trees. And I thought that was really, really cool. And as soon as I saw it, it really stuck out in my mind and reminded me of Christmas trees, which is why I was definitely drawn to it. Now, go ahead and take your dirty, filthy fingers like I have here. Gosh, I've come a long way. And I am just going to go ahead and just secure everything down. Make sure that everything is nice and dry, and then I'm going to add in my little toy soldier guy. What's great about him is he is the perfect size for the inside of this house, and I really, really liked it, and I loved the way that this looked. I'm going to go ahead and just position him down, make sure that he's nice and safe, and then clearly I'm going to have to go back and add a little bit of glue. I added some greenery and a little bow, and you've got the cutest decor for your home. All right, and for the next project, everybody loves a red truck. I loved this red truck, but you know what? I didn't want the Christmas trees on it, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove those. I can put those aside and use those for something else. I'm using Waverly's Crimson for this truck, and of course, I'm going to paint my truck red. I'm going to make sure that it's got all the red love it can. I think I ended up doing 2 coats of this particular paint. And then I am going to take some additional colors. I'm going to use this kind of a silvery gray, and I'm going to paint the fenders of my truck. Now, I am not the greatest painter. I did not get the painting gene that my sister got. My sister is an amazing artist, but I'm not so great at it sometimes, so I'm keeping this simple. I painted the wheels black, I painted the fender silver. Now I'm going to take these Jenga block pieces from Dollar Tree, these kind of faux Jenga block pieces, and I'm building a bed in the back of the truck. So hopefully that is making sense, because I'm going to fill the back of my truck with some presents. So I used these present ornaments that you can pick up at Dollar Tree, and I'm literally just gluing them down as if they're in the back of the truck. And then what I failed to show you on the other two Jenga blocks, those are down at the wheels. So this will actually stand up like it's standing up right now. I'm just stacking those presents sky high, hoping that this red truck is coming to my house to drop off all these great presents. And again, you've got a cute decor piece that you can use at your bar or in your kitchen on a tiered tray. A lot of different uses for it, and I think that it's pretty freaking adorable. Now, I love jingle bells, and I love the sound of jingle bells, especially during the Christmas season. So doing a wreath for my front door was kind of a no-brainer with these oversized bells that I did pick up at Dollar Tree. Now, what's great about these bells is that they have this kind of a hook at the top of them that you could use these for ornaments. But if you take a wreath form, this is just a large wreath form that I just cut down from a larger wreath form from Dollar Tree. And then you split it, and then you can thread your bells on, kind of like I'm doing here. Now, that is step one to making a jingle bell wreath. Now, I don't want to wake the neighbors up, so I'm making sure that this wreath is not all jingle bells, although I would absolutely love it. I'm taking these these pieces of my Christmas tree, and then also some of these are just some of these garland ties and things that you can pick up at Dollar Tree, and even some of the garland itself. You know, it's all pretty thin, I'll tell you. And so I kind of combined all of those to make this wreath look a little bit thicker. And then for all of the green parts of this wreath, I am just going through and adding some of these picks and some of these gold ornaments. I'm putting them face down, that way you don't see, or top hanger side down. That way you don't see some of those hangers. And again, just kind of filling up my wreath form just by gluing these pieces directly into the greenery itself. And I think that this is super, super fun and just a great way. This is on a wooden door that's on the inside of my house. It will be going on the outside of my house, or at least it did. And again, love the way that this looks. It reminds me of Christmas. You could hang it the opposite direction and put the bells at the bottom if you wanted to. Totally up to you. Lots and lots of great options for this one. All right, this next project, I'm not even kidding you. This is my favorite project. I still have this. I use this all the time. These are antler ornaments or antler pieces. They were like picks. They had this stick in the bottom of them. I took the stick out. I have this garden bowl from Dollar Tree, this kind of shallow bowl. And then I have one of these Dollar Tree candle holders. Now, the idea here is to create a bowl that is like an antler bowl. And the first thing I'm going to do is kind of trim off the very bottoms of my my antlers here. Now, some of them I did trim just a little bit, but you don't have to cut them completely, because for the most part, that bottom part is kind of flexible. And also what's really cool about them is that when the heat gun or the glue gun, the temperature gets hot, it makes them more pliable. So now that you can see, I've glued them all to the base of my candlestick, and I'm just going back through and reinforcing the antlers, making sure that they're good and solid on that candlestick. And I have to tell you, I still have this to this day. This is something that I use on my coffee table every year. I love the way it looks right now, but I wanted to give this a little bit of glam. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the bowl outside. Now, I ended up spray painting it white at first, and then you'll see I didn't really like the white. I thought that it needed a little bit more punch to it. Now, for the antlers and for the other pieces, I went ahead and just spray painted those gold. I did this bright, beautiful gold which I'm obsessed with, and of course I love. And then for the bowl itself, I decided to spray paint that black because it went so much better with the interior of my home. And I added some Christmas elements. I also added a candle, and bam, I freaking love this thing so much. It reminds me of a high-end bowl that I saw at like a Macy's or somewhere. And this is probably to date one of my favorite Christmas DIYs that I've done in the last couple years of having my channel. All right, everyone, and for the next project, we're going to take 3 of these triangle-shaped, I call them the Dollar Tree houses. I know they're not really houses, but that's what I'm going to call them for this project. And then I have 4 of these wood blocks. These came from a craft store that I picked up at Lake Hartwell, and they were just kind of the perfect size, so I grabbed them and have been keeping them in my stash. Now, for the trees, or at least for one of the trees that I'm going to be making, I need to be able to stack these boxes on each other. So I'm going to take my Dremel tool here, and I am going to cut away at the cardboard. Now, my Dremel tool I do love to use. It's extremely powerful. And if you can invest in something like this, I do recommend it. However, again, it's super, super powerful. And I am not a great person to use tools with all the time. And I can handle the Dremel pretty good. Now, again, it is powerful. As you can see, it is sawing through this Dollar Tree wood and almost setting it on fire because it was... it was turned up pretty high. Now I can go ahead and just kind of pop that piece out that I've kind of sawed away, or at least I'm going to try. And it's okay because I had to take the backings off of this anyway. So don't worry about that part, or at least that wasn't the original plan, but that's what the plan is now. And now that I do have that, I can finish cutting the rest of the way and just go ahead and remove that piece altogether. And then again, because I did it with the first one, I went ahead and did it with the second one too. Now for my glue, now that kind of line that you see there, I took those pieces and stacked them on top of each other and then kind of drew the line where I needed to draw the glue. And so I created that kind of double version that you're seeing there to the left. And then for the wood block, I'm going to take the wood block and just glue that directly down on top of the or the bottom of the surface, I guess I should say. Now, for the second one, I'm going to pop the backing off of this one. This one came out pretty easy and didn't have a lot of this residual kind of paper and smooch. So that was kind of a good thing. And I'm just going to glue the single tree by itself. So when you're all done, you're going to have 2 that looks like that. Sorry, that went by really, really quickly. Now, for the wood block, I'm going to go ahead and just paint that black. I did end up finally getting rid of that little tiny brush and going to one of the Dollar Tree foam brushes. Not a big fan of these Dollar Tree foam brushes, I have to say. Just invest in something better from Michael's or something. Now, for the exterior of the tree that moved really, really fast, I apologize for that. I did antiquing wax, and then for the edges, I did the white or the black ink chalk paint. Now I've got these kind of garland pieces that I strung around there, and boom, you've got these cute, adorable little trees. I also use these in my decor every year. I think this year I'm probably going to add lights to mine. Again, super fun and easy to work with. Speaking of easy, this is a great project. If you can find this wood bead garland at Walmart this year, I almost said Dollar Tree, you should run and get every single color they have in multiple colors, because you'll never have to paint beads again. I'm also grabbing a bunch of those truck ornaments, and I'm taking my beads because this is an extremely long set of beads. And I forget how many feet this is, but this is a fantastic value. For $6, like, this is kind of crazy not to take advantage of this. Now, for the truck ornaments, I'm just kind of counting down. I forget how many number of spaces I counted down, but I made sure that my trucks were just kind of spread equally all the way across the garland. And what's great about those little trucks is that, you know, they come with this wire that you would typically use to hang these on your tree. Well, guess what? You can take that wire and twist it around on those wood beads, and it allows your truck to hang from the wood beads really, really easily. Now, if you have more of a woodland kind of themed tree, or something that's maybe even a little kind of farmhouse or something, or maybe just something that you want in the man cave, like the wood beads with the red truck, I think that that's so iconic and just a cool look. And again, I'm just taking this and creating this entire garland with all of these, and then I took it and strung it across the front of my fireplace, and check out how cute this was. I really loved the way this turned out. Speaking of red trucks, this is another red truck DIY. Super easy. I grabbed this red truck on a clearance sale from Hobby Lobby or Michael's. I think it might have been Hobby Lobby last year. And I'm going to add some floral foam, and I'm going to add some floral picks to the back of this. So I have my little janky cutters here because I could not find my large pair of scissors or my box cutter. I guess I could have gone and grabbed a kitchen knife, but this did end up working. It just took a little bit longer. I filled the back of my pickup truck with some floral foam. Then I took some of those wreath kind of tie pieces that you can get from Dollar Tree, and I think they're used for like tying garland onto like your stairwell or something like that. But anyway, I just kind of worked this all the way around into the floral foam, just kind of filling up some of that spacing that was there. And then for the flowers themselves, I'm just using my lineman pliers, which I think is the best tool that you can have in your DIY stash. I have lineman pliers linked in the description box below. Definitely check those out. For this particular truck theme, I'm going with a poinsettia theme. And now that I've got all these pieces kind of cut and trimmed, I can kind of play around with this and really figure out the best layout for this. Obviously, those stems are really long, so you can trim those down. As you can see, that's going to be a little way too high. So I took those stems and I think I trimmed them down to about half of what they were before. And now I'm simply just going to fill up the back of the truck with all of those poinsettias, and I really love the way that this looks, and it's kind of perfect. It's very iconic. It reminds me of like a country Christmas, and it was something that sat on my entry table. And again, loved the way this turned out. Super cute. I was really happy with this one. If you like red truck, then obviously you are in the right spot. The rest of this video is not going to be red truck, but this one was too easy to pass up. I took a Dollar Tree gift box. This is just a red truck gift box. There's nothing more to this. And I took some of the brown Jingle wood pieces, or the faux Jingle pieces, and I'm going to glue 2 of the blocks together. I'm actually going to do 2 sets of that. So you'll use 4 pieces in total that will be glued together in sets of 2. Hopefully that makes sense. And just follow along. If it doesn't visually, just put me on mute right now. That way you can hopefully follow along better. So you're going to go ahead and glue those pieces together like so. And then you're going to glue them on either end of your wood box, kind of like so. You're going to take it and just line it up right at the top. And then you're going to do the other one right across from the on the other side of the box, and make sure that it's lined up. You can eyeball this, or you can measure it. You know me, I don't ever really measure a whole lot of stuff. I just kind of eyeball it. And I am going to, again, kind of glue this down, hold it into place, and check this out. You've got the cutest little tray. This is such a cute little tray that you could use on your coffee table. Maybe you have a smaller coffee table and you don't have room for a big giant tray. This is a great way to have a cool tray for your Christmas decor. And if you're a fan of red trucks, this is a no-brainer. But look how cute this is. Even if you added like some bourbon, maybe it's in the man cave. Again, super cute. Loved the way that this one turned out. For the next project here, I'm going to use one of those Dollar Tree houses. Some string lights. I have these tree ornaments, and I also have one of these red trucks, or this Christmas tree truck, I should say, that is going to be a red truck. Popping the back of the house out again because I don't need it. And I am going to push this aside and then just kind of, pull away all those pieces again. You've seen me do this in a couple DIYs. I guess I was in a destructive mood last year. I don't know. The great thing about that house backing, though, you want to keep that because you can actually use that for some other projects. And now that you've got all the bits and pieces kind of pulled away, we are taking some corrugated metal here, or what's supposed to look like corrugated metal. This is actually a Dollar Tree baking pan, and all you're doing is cutting that down so it fits as a roof on your house. Now, before we go that far, I am going to take some of my Craft Smart antiquing wax here, and I'm just going to paint everything brown. I'm just doing this on the outside of this, and then I think I end up doing it on kind of all sides of the house. Yep, I do. And wiping away the excess. Now for my truck, I'm taking my Arteza acrylic paint here. I'm going to paint the truck red. Again, I'm not an artist, but thankfully, those lines and those kind of divots and dips, they kind of work to my advantage. So now I was able to go in there and do the fenders without messing it up, and then also painting the hubcaps and the tires and kind of getting all that done. And then I did also paint the tree. I just went with a very easy kind of evergreen color. Don't you love, by the way, how I started with the outside of the wheel and then did the inside of the wheel? I don't know what my problem is there. I wanted a snowy kind of a bottom for this, so I'm just going to take a piece of this. This is just like a gauze roll, and I cut it down to be the same size as the inside. Now, for those trees, I wanted these to stand up, but the trees do not have a flat surface, or at least now they do, because those lineman pliers worked really, really well for that. I added some hot glue, and then for the second one, I glued it down just a little bit lower. I'm adding hot glue to the back of the truck and to the wheels, because I'm going to stand this up against those trees to kind of create my really cool backdrop here. Now, for the corrugated kind of metal roofing, I just glued the pieces of that baking sheet right back to the top of that. And then for the lights itself, I wanted the lights to kind of have like an icicle feel. So I'm adding some hot glue to the top of this, and as long as you keep the bulbs out of the hot glue, you'll be able to do this as well. And check this out. You've got this cute little lighted up, Christmas shadow box thing. I think it would have been adorable also to wrap the lights around the trees itself. Super, super cute, and I love the way this turned out. Now, for this one, this is a leftover Halloween truck, and he was $5 when I bought him. It had really good intentions when I bought it, but I knew that I needed to save it. Now, I also found these trees from Dollar General. That's where the truck also came from, by the way. And they're great because they kind of do these 3D motions, but I'm not going to use them as 3D. Instead, I'm going to use them as 1D, I guess that's what it's called. So for the truck itself, I'm going to go ahead and just paint this up. I'm going to get this guy painted red. I think I'm getting a little better with my red truck painting here. And after I do that, I'm going to paint the fenders and get them to that silver color. The wheels were already black, which was great. I did do the hubcaps as well. And then for the trees themselves, I actually switched it up and I went with these tree ornaments instead. I thought that these were better options. These are from Dollar Tree. And all I'm going to do now is take some hot glue, and we are going to glue these down into the back of the truck. And I'm going to stack these to make it look like this little red truck is filled with Christmas trees. And it's going to be bringing Christmas trees to all of our houses. I loved the way that this turned out. Again, a great little piece to add to your home decor. Perfect for the holiday seasons. Right now, let's talk easy. These are decorative objects that you can pick up at Dollar Tree, and I am literally spray painting this one. All I'm doing is going in with my gold spray paint and just spray painting this to where it looks like a gold ornament, honestly. It's going to be a very cool kind of gold object that you can set up. Now, I did tape off the bottom of this, and I'm going to spray the top of it bright red because I love that bright red and gold. And remember, the bottom part of the triangle, it was already gold. So when I taped it off, I prevented having to cover it. How cool was those? All right, this one is a wood star that you can pick up from Dollar Tree. And then you have these kind of gems that you can glue on. They're for like fabric, but you can also put them on wood. And they've kind of got this raised kind of stud pattern. And what's great about them is they do come off in these long kind of strips. And I just went around both sides of my star with these. And all I'm going to do is literally trace the edge of both sides, and I'm going to be sure and not cover up that hole at the top there. Now, you could cover that up with a, some kind of wood filler or something, but I'm actually going to be adding a little tassel to that. So now that I've got everything covered in my bright red paint here, I added a tassel to the bottom. And how cute is this? It kind of reminds me of like a shooting star. I think that this is super, super fun and a great little decorative piece that you can add to a tiered tray, for example. This is easy peasy. Now, these great lighted Christmas trees that you can pick up at Dollar Tree and some of these candlesticks. Now, one was already pre-painted from another project, but guess what? We're going to paint it again. And I love the way that these turned out. And you want to make sure that you get 3 that are in different heights, or at least 2 that are in different heights. I was able to get 3 different heights here. I spray painted them white. I added my trees, and boom, you've got instant candlesticks that are Christmas. If you did this in red or green, this would be equally as cute. I loved the way this turned out. I was super, super happy with them. For this next DIY that we're going to do, this is also a crafter square kind of a project. I took this great kind of hanging star wood piece and then another just square wood piece. Now for this, I'm going to separate the star from it because I'm actually not going to use the interior star. We're going to cut that away and kind of push that aside. And then for our wood piece here, I'm going to notch this out. I'm using this little wood tool that I actually picked up at Dollar Tree. And the idea here is to create little notches so our star can stand up. That wood piece is the exact perfect size here. So now that we have this star standing up because of the way that we kind of hatched out that wood, I'm going to now add a piece of my my Jingle block pieces on either side of the star. Why can't I talk today? And I am going to add this on either side of the base of the star because we are creating kind of a candle holder out of this. Now, it's a battery operated candle holder. You don't want to put a real candle in here, even though I think I may have for the example video. But what this does is it creates this very flat surface. Now, this was a small kind of plastic piece that I had from a previous project. It was already spray painted gold, so it kind of worked out perfectly. I'm just going to go ahead and glue this at the top, and then I'm going to go outside and just kind of finish spray painting everything gold on the star itself. And then once I had everything gold, I took the hole at the top, I added that little bit of holly, and check out how adorable this is for a candle holder. Now, yes, I know I said not to put a real fire in here. I added a little tiny baby tea light. I don't recommend doing this though because my holly piece did end up catching on fire. And you may want to use a battery operated, well, you definitely use a battery operated candle for that one. All right, next project. This is one of these see-through frames that I picked up from Dollar Tree. It also has this great ornament that I think this one came from Michael's. I had this from a previous project. One side, as you can see here, has already been kind of covered with my antiquing wax, and that was perfect. I also had this little sprig of leftover kind of stuff from Christmas, and I want to incorporate that as well. Go ahead and remove your sign that kind of comes with this frame here, and you're actually going to use that clip, so you don't want to take that clip off. Now, for your ornament, I wanted to go ahead and figure out the best way to hang that ornament. Now, originally I was going to go ahead and remove that clip there, but I decided not to. Now, I'm going to take just the green part of this because as I was playing around with it, I remember being inspired by these red balls and thinking that one of these red balls would be really cute as almost like a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer kind of a nose. So I went ahead and cut one of the red balls off. I put that aside. And then for the other ones, I will remove those red balls. That way it truly is just a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer kind of looking thing. I took my frame outside. I took that plastic insert outside. I spray painted it red. This is the bright red, apple red, I think is what this one is called, from Rust-Oleum. Again, my favorite. And then I used that same little clip, a little bit of ribbon, and I've got the cutest little reindeer. I added some greenery to the top of this just to kind of tie in more of the Christmas kind of feel, and was super, super happy with the way that this one turned out. I thought that it was super adorable and really loved the way that this turned out. All right, and for my next project, we're going to make 2 sets of candles, or candelabras, we'll call candle holders. And I'm using this funnel set that I picked up from Dollar Tree. Now I grabbed 2 of those, and then I also have one of these wood signs that I picked up from Dollar Tree. And then I also have some wood block pieces. Now, for my candelabra pieces, I am going to select the kind of medium size. So the 2 medium ones and then the 1 larger one. And I'm going to just kind of space them out along the wood kind of piece there. And then I have this oversized, very, very large drill bit, but it also happens to be the exact same size as the funnel. And that is going to be key because you are going to want to be able to stand those funnels upright. And the way I'm doing that is by drilling a hole into this wood piece. So after I've marked where I wanted everything done, I am just going to drill down, and I didn't quite drill all the way down. And I am kind of, as you see there, kind of zigzagging the drill bit around. That way the hole is just a smidge bigger. That way I can squeeze everything in there. And then I did hot glue everything down. Now you have these little baby pieces that are left over, and it's kind of like, well, we got to include them too, right? So what I'm going to do then is take the 2 baby ones here. The one I did end up actually using in the kitchen, so I guess that was a good thing. But the 2 smaller ones here, I'm going to be using these wood blocks. And then once again, kind of marking the center, taking out that drill bit once again, and just drilling a hole in the center of those wood pieces to allow me to have now, in addition to the larger candelabra, I'm also going to have 2 smaller ones. Now, I took everything outside and I spray painted it this metallic silver spray paint. And you may notice that the holes in the back of the holes that were in the back of the funnels, that's because that's where I clipped off the handles. So I wanted to make sure that those holes were all facing the same way. Now for mine, my Christmas is a little more rustic, so I'm adding some wood pieces into here. And then I think I didn't have anything else other than rocks. So I went ahead and just added rocks in here. You know, it's a very rocky, rugged Christmas here. But I think you get the idea. You could certainly add some greenery, or, I added tea lights into that one. I tied some red bows along the bottom, and you've got a very cute kind of Christmas candle set. Now, what I thought was super great about all of these is that you could really, really very, very easily customize this. You could spray paint these black, and you could use them all season long in your decor. They look fantastic on my mantle like this. You could separate the 2 smaller candle pieces like I've done on the other side of the mantle here. You can keep everything together if you want to. This could be really, really pretty, especially on like the center of a long rectangular dining room table. Again, lots of great options that you can do with this particular one. Now, when I was a kid, I was obsessed with miniatures and snow globes, and we're going to make a snowless snow globe. So I'm going to take a candlestick, one of the cloches, my little mini reindeer here, some trees, some of these wood blocks maybe that I'll end up using, and then some other miscellaneous pieces. And we're going to create kind of a snow globe, if you will, that kind of sits up on a candlestick. And I took my cloche, or the bottom of the cloche, and just glued that directly on top of the candlestick. Took everything outside and just gave it a nice fresh coat of white paint. I wanted everything to match, so I figured why not go ahead and paint the candlestick as well. Now the wood square, I do end up using that. I am going to paint that. I think I'm going to end up painting that red. Yeah, I paint it red with that crimson paint from Waverly. And after I've got the block painted, it's going to be turned into a little present. That's why I did it. And I just simply took the little tiniest bit of twine and tied the tiniest, cutest little bow to it and glued it right on top. Now, for the bottom of my snowless globe, or I should say the snow has already fallen globe, I'm going to cut out a circle just using that gauze that I used in an earlier project. And I'm going to create kind of a faux snow on the bottom. So I glued that down to the bottom of my cloche using the spray glue this time from Dollar Tree, and it actually worked out pretty good. And now I'm just going to add some of these snow pieces, these little kind of like plastic crystal-y things. I did squirt a pretty generous amount of hot glue on the top of that. That way everything would stay down. And then for my tree, I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. And then for Rudolph, I'm going to add some glue onto his hooves and glue him in place. And then, whoa, had a crazy Christmas moment there and almost knocked the camera over, it looks like. And I'm going to glue this down. By the way, how dirty are my fingers? Good Lord. And then for that little tiny present, I am going to also glue that in place and just set up the cutest little scene here. Now, for the base of the candle, I did take some of my Dollar Tree ribbon. This is a Christmas ribbon here. I'm just going to wrap it around the base and just kind of cover that. And then I'm going to create a bow and glue that down. And again, super, super cute. Loved the way this turned out. I'm super, super happy with this one. And it is, again, a staple that I always have out during the Christmas season. Right, so I couldn't be done with the red trucks because I do love the red truck. I think I need like a real life-size red truck. But anyway, some Dollar Tree faux snow. I have this large Count Your Blessings sign. And then I have this great gift bag, which I loved, of course, because it had like a real red truck on it. And I thought that I could create a very cool framed photo using that truck as well as some snow. So I'm going to go ahead and take this apart. I'm going to put that one aside because I could save that for something else. And then I'm going to use the cardboard backing and we are going to trace out the truck. Now, you want to make sure that when you're tracing this out, you're of course not cutting off any of the pieces of the truck that are the important parts, like the engine and the wheels and things like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and just cut my truck out. I'm going to use some of this glue stick and I'm going to actually use it on the truck parts itself. And I'm using it just in little tiny pieces. And now I'm sprinkling some of this faux snow right on top of it because I want my truck to kind of have this 3D effect of snow. Also, you got to have some snow on the ground. So again, kind of doing that same thing. By the way, I took all of that snow so it wouldn't get all over everything and just put it inside of a Dollar Tree glass vase just to kind of hold it and work with it. Treating it almost like it's glitter. Just kind of taking that snow, patting it down and really covering that up. And then for the frame, I'm literally just putting it inside the frame itself. I'm going to add the backing back to this, and check this out when it's all said and done. You've got the cutest framed print with this really cool 3D effect that I think is just so adorable. This next one I did happen to make for Christmas time, but it doesn't have traditional Christmas colors because I really wanted something that I could use all year long. Now remember that wood board that I used for the joy sign in the very beginning? This is the second piece of that wood board that I had. And I decided to make a welcome sign for the front door. Again, just going to freshen up the white paint like I did with the previous one. This is Rust-Oleum. It is a matte white. It is not something that has a gloss to it. And then for the letters, blue is my favorite color. So of course I'm just going to add some blue. This is a navy. Oh no, look, the C is correct on this one. If you remember the previous banner I made, my C looked like a G. Now that everything has been spray painted and the colors are great and vibrant and everything is dried, I am literally just going to take these and start gluing these down. See what I mean? C, G. When you turn it this way, it looks like a G. But when you turn it this way, it's a C. So yeah. I learned the hard way with the other one. All I did was just take the other one off and just spray paint the other side of it and glue it back on. But Lord, the comments that I received that time, it was hilarious. And I didn't even really notice it until so many people commented, which was even funnier to me. All right, now I am going to measure because I do want this to be spaced out properly. And literally all I'm doing is kind of laying these out on my table, kind of figuring out what the proper distance is between each one. I do mark it just with a little dab of a pencil, just so I know kind of where to go back and to add each one of those letters in. And as you can see, I'm kind of using my tool there, my measuring stick, as my guide for everything. And then it just went back in and it just glued everything down and just made sure that everything was perfectly spaced. And check this out. I've got a great welcome sign that I can use all year long, anytime I want to welcome all of you to my home. Well, some of you, you know what I mean. Right, this next one is another favorite of mine. I loved these gift bags when I saw them, and I knew I wanted to do something more permanent with them than use them as a gift bag. Now I have this piece of scrap wood. Anytime you're looking for scrap wood, look on Facebook Marketplace. So many people are getting rid of scrap wood, and you can easily get rid of or pick up some free pieces. Also, places like Home Depot or Lowe's will have a free bin. You don't really get pieces this size there, but I did end up getting this from a free pile. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of measure out where I want to cut this because the bag is a little bit bigger than the board itself. But if I center this the right way, then I'm going to be in good shape. Now, the size of the sign, I think, end up having to cut down a little bit. So for the bag itself, I'm just going to go ahead and just start trimming this. And I started with the white line and just kind of using that as my guide because it was going to kind of work out to be the right size that I was going to need for this. And as I'm just kind of trimming this down, I am trying to do this as tightly as I can and trying to stay right along that line there because, you know, obviously I want to be able to use this. Now, for the board itself, I did go ahead and take the sides, and I'm just going to use my favorite product ever, Waverly's Antiquing Wax or the Craftsmart Antiquing Wax. Any kind of antiquing wax or stain is like my jam. I love this. And I did go ahead and just kind of stain down all the sides of this. Now that rough side there that was cut, I probably should have taken some sandpaper and just sanded that down, but it's okay. It actually ended up working out just fine, and I was able to still kind of use everything that I wanted to. Now, after I did get all of those sides covered, then it was time to go ahead and to add my print or my bag to the board itself. Now I'm using some Mod Podge, and I'm using quite a bit of Mod Podge here, but it does soak into the wood a little bit. So for this one, I wasn't totally, overkill here. It was not overkill, I should say. I added a generous amount of my Mod Podge and just kind of made sure that it was spread out nice and evenly, and, kind of working it back and forth, as you can see there, and then getting rid of the globs and such. And then I did go ahead and add my bag. Now I did have to end up trimming it down because it was a little, the bag size was a little big. Now I smoothed it down, but I took that rag that I had that antiquing wax on and really started to age that reindeer sign. And I loved the way that this turned out. It just made it look even older to me, like it was an old sign. And then I added a simple wood hanger, and you've got a great piece of artwork that looks really, really cool. And they had some of the coolest bags last year, and this will be in my home again this year. This will definitely be hung up by the front door, and it's such a cool piece. I was so happy with the way that this one turned out. For my next project, I'm going to take one of these oversized wood blocks. I picked this up at that craft store that I mentioned earlier that was near Lake Hartwell. I have this bell ornament that I picked up, and then I also have this Dollar Tree tray. I'm going to create something that looks like a vintage doorbell kind of hanger thing that will be outside on the front porch. So the first thing I did was kind of take apart any of the kind of accoutrements that were hanging from the bell themselves, because I did want this to be just very kind of strict here. And for the actual gold part, or the bell, and for the wood piece, I'm going to glue those in place, and I'm struggling here with my little glue gun, but I helped him out and kind of pushed the glue stick down, and then I took that wood block and just kind of centered that at the top of my tray, and then before it dried, I just picked it up and kind of looked at it, making sure that it was perfectly straight, or at least straight enough for me. And then for the doorbell part of it, I just hammered that down with a nail because there is a little bit of a hanger there at the top. Now I'm taking everything outside, and I'm going to spray paint that flat black from Rust-Oleum. Again, this is a black color that I really enjoy using. I don't like a lot of the glossier spray paints, and for me, I have lots and lots of these flat matte kind of colors. This black I thought was perfect, and this is kind of like a hammered black for this particular one, because I did want this to look like an aged bell. Now for that square block, I'm going to kind of camouflage that a little bit, and I'm doing that by taking those wreath kind of twisty ties that you can pick up at Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to kind of wrap that around the bell, or the square part of the bell, because I'm trying to camouflage that a little bit to make this look like it might be hanging like on the side of a building or something, let's say. And then for the actual part there that is not covered, I'm taking this ribbon and I cut it down to where it would kind of fit perfectly over that area. So I'm using my fingers there. I added some hot glue at the tip of that. I'm going to make sure it has a nice good hold. I'm going to kind of roll it over the front there, and then I will end up trimming that down and having that other piece glued down. And then for the center, I just added a couple of the poinsettia pieces here, and added some other floral pieces, and you've got something that looks really, really cute. And it just reminds me of like this vintage bell that you would see in like, A Christmas Story or something like that. For the poinsettia leaves, I did go ahead and just glue some of those down. And then for the bell part itself, I took some of the loose jingle bells that I had. I tied them to a couple of different strings. I tied them together in a knot, and then I fed them up through the top of the bell. That way it did have some jingle to my bell, and then tied that off, trimmed away any of the excess, and like right now, just it hanging on the door, it's kind of a fun wreath type of effect, right? You've got the cuteness of the bell itself. This is it on my old front door before I painted it yellow. But also what I think is great about this is you could put this next to the door and use it like a bell. All right, for the next DIY project, I am taking this cardboard cone. I picked this up at Michael's. Then I have a ton of these jingle bells that I picked up from Dollar Tree, and there's a bunch of different kinds that you can get. You can get the 50 pack, you can get a 32-piece pack, but you want to make sure that when you do grab your bells that you're grabbing something that is going to be the same size, or at least that's what I meant to do. So for my cone and for the bells, I am just going to start gluing lots and lots and lots of bells all the way around this cone. And I'm literally starting with the larger bells as I work my way around the bottom. And then as I get kind of towards the top of the cone, and as I've kind of ran out of the larger bells, then I start incorporating those smaller bells and kind of working my way up like that. And I literally am just going to keep doing this over and over and over and over and over until you've got the entire piece covered in bells. Now, if you do this the right way, this will still jingle. It will still make lots of noise, which of course, you know me, I love the jingle bells. And that's why I keep kind of picking up and shaking it, because if you put too much glue on that bell, then that glue will get kind of inside the dingler part of the bell. But anyway, now that I'm done and at the very top, this is what it looks like. Love it. All right, next project we are going to create is a Christmas tree stand. And the way that we're going to do this is we're going to take a paint stir stick. We're going to take some of these bamboo skewers and a couple of those lighted LED trees. First thing I'm going to do is take these 2 skewers. I cut them down to be the same exact size. I'm going to add some hot glue into the corner of each one of these, and we are going to create 2 poles that stick up kind of like so. Now, for the next part of this, I am going to take my paint stir stick and we're going to measure out where I need to cut this. And you can see that there was a line that was there from a previous project, and I'm just going to kind of move over just a little bit. I don't want this to be the exact same size as the actual sticks themselves, because I want this to kind of look like an old-fashioned like Christmas tree stand. So now that I've got that all set up and glued together, I am then going to take my favorite thing ever, antiquing wax, you know it, and I'm just going to create my crate and just kind of age this crate. And again, just kind of make this look like this is an old crate and, an old Christmas tree stand. So after I've done that and I have everything completely covered in my Waverly or in my Craftsmart antiquing wax, then I am going to move on to my next step, which is to incorporate the word Christmas tree. And to do this, I'm going to add these letters with my Arteza paint pen. So instead of spelling out Christmas trees, because it wouldn't have fit on my little sign, I'm just going to say trees. And I'm using my Arteza paint marker to be able to do this. And these are pretty easy to use. These are acrylic markers and acrylic paint markers, and they work really, really great. Now, for my trees, I'm going to put together a little price tag. These are going to be a rock bottom sale because it's right before Christmas and we got to get rid of the trees that we have left over. And then I added some raffia. I added some of those lighted Christmas tree kind of LED trees that I told you about from Dollar Tree. And bam, you've got a cute little Christmas tree stand ready to go. And you're selling your trees at rock bottom prices. So who wouldn't come and buy them? All right, everyone. And for my last project of this video, I am going to be creating some ornaments with these really cute tags that I picked up from Walmart. Now, I also grabbed all of these glorious beads from Walmart. I told you, when you can grab the garland that typically comes in a strand like this, if if you can get them in every single color available, it will make your life so much easier. And it's such a good deal for $6. I don't understand why everybody didn't buy these last year. So now that I've got my ornament pieces kind of lined up here, I am going to create some little beaded tassels with each of them. But before I do that, I need to make sure that we've got these covered and set up to where they are two-sided, because as you can see, one side is cardboard. And to do that, I'm going to take them and glue them together kind of like so. I'm going to add the hot glue kind of towards the bottom part of that because I didn't want to, put any glue in the hole. And now I'm just going to take my pieces. I'm stringing them with some beads until I've got the great setup. You can use the red and white beads. You can use all white. You could use the brown and white. You can really make these perfect and customized for you. And then for mine, I wanted to go ahead and add a little something extra for some of these. So after everything set up, I did have this little toy soldier guy, and I thought that he would be really cute as part of these beaded tassels. And this little soldier guy was something that I kind of added in here last minute. I'm adding some glue at the top of his head there. I'm going to just glue this down, and I'm keeping it natural because the other beads within that toy soldier guy were kind of that natural color. And I love the way that black and white and natural color just kind of all blended together. And then I literally took all of these and just decorated a small tree in my craft room with these fun little ornament tags. And I was so happy with the way this turned out. Hey everybody, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed these projects for Christmas. A lot of stores right now are starting to put out Christmas decor, and it is time to start locking down some of those DIY plans, even if you're buying it now and just putting it away in a closet until you're ready to start decorating for Christmas or start even DIYing for Christmas. You know how it goes. You're going to see tons of stuff, and there's going to be so many cool, fun projects out there. And of course, I wanted to bring you some inspiration ideas already. All right, guys, let me know in the comments what your favorites were below, and Merry Christmas until we get to Christmas. All right, bye.